Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I really appreciate you being here on a Thursday afternoon. There's a lot that goes into this ingredient list of becoming a rock star. And this gentleman has all those ingredients, but doesn't have the condescension, the pretentious, arrogant, conceited side, which is, I think, the final ingredient to make this guy a true rock star in my eyes. I'm very grateful that he's going to spend an afternoon with us. So please welcome my dear buddy, Pete Holmes. Thanks, buddy, for being here.
Hey guys, hey Kevin, how you doing, man?
I'm glad to see you, pal.
Yeah, I love you, dude. I do not get to see you too often.
It's the truth. Well, how often do you get back to Portland?
You know, once a year at best. But you know who I do run into? I run into a lot of guys on the road that you have worked with. You know, cartage guys.
Oh, I know.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
It seems like about a week before any place you play, we gig.
Yeah.
And they'll say, oh yeah, so we got Ratt coming through next week. And I go, oh, well, make sure you say hi to my buddy Pete, and the
some really nice guys out there, some really good guys,
well, there are. And I'll tell you, one thing that happens if we show up after you, everybody I talk to says, yeah, we just worked with Ratt last week. And I'll say, oh man, so you got to work with my pal Pete. And every single guy says, I'm not going to say anything about anybody else in that band, but Pete Holmes is the real deal, that guy. And so, it's always been that way, honestly, man, from way back when I first moved here in Portland, 94. Of course, I knew Black and Blue stuff. Prior to that, I grew up in Montana, and I have the first Black and Blue vinyl, still the same copy that I've had, since. But when I moved here, guys that I really connected with right off the bat, like Dan Pred. Dan's a dear buddy of mine, and he always talked about having seen you in this evolution of the Dan Reed Network and Black and Blue tearing it up.
Yeah.
These drummers hold you in such high regard, not just because of your chops, but because you are sincerely a really good human being, and that says a lot.
That's a high standard to be held to, dude.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'll try to. I think if I'll just do what I'm doing, maintain this path. It's just about being real.
Yeah.
I don't think that anybody gets anywhere they want to be in any job or whatever without being real. Of course not, right?
You would hope. So, I mean, there are some guys, in positions of power, that maybe hide some of that authenticity.
No, of course, yeah.
But I mean, you've grown up in this thing. We were talking just before we jumped on that you've got about 40 years of professional drumming in your career, right? So
40 years of professional, and then of course, I mean, I started playing in the 60s, I was playing 2 records when they were Beatles records when they were coming out.
Are you kidding? Wait a minute. How old are you?
I just turned 61.
You have got to be kidding me. That's not fair. Look at this head of hair. I don't know how people can see.
Well.
Wow, man. That's amazing. Good for you, buddy.
Yeah.
Done it right.
So these records were coming out, and I was playing to them then. There was an attraction. There was something there really happening at that time. I mean, come on, 1966, 67. I mean, dude, it was real. I mean, the best decades of music to me were the 50s, 60s, and 70s. They really were. I mean, that was just like anything went.
Right.
And there was a crowd for every style of music. And everything was good. Everything got, everything got its own chance and had its own crowd. And I just, killed it.
It was magical, man. So from that era, did you have drummers that really kind of lit your fire and got you started?
I sure did. Of course, Ringo, you hear that, but that's just real. That's just true. That really happened. I mean, and, I don't know if it was so much drummers early on. It really was about bands. For me, it's always been about bands and the songs and the guitar players. you know, of course, the drummers, that's what I want to do within that context. But, you know, I was listening to everybody. I was listening to the Cowsills. I was listening to Creedence, you know, with Doug Clifford playing, and the Doors, and anything that was going on, that real 60s vibe at that time, you know.
Wow.
And as it was happening, you know, as the records were coming out, as the Beatles were putting out something new, as they were putting out Hard Day's Night, I was picking those things up and playing a mock little drum set that I had put together with various things, you know.
Yeah. How old were you when you started playing?
Oh, geez. 7, 6, 7.
Oh, no kidding, man.
Yeah.
You're talking about, you know, like listen to these Beatles records when they were first coming out. And a bunch of people that I've talked to on the show have mentioned that was the changing moment for them, was seeing the Ed Sullivan Show, you know, seeing the Beatles come out. Did you happen to catch it? Or
Absolutely.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, just, and it rings true, you know, everybody who saw that wanted to do that, you know? Yeah. I think even if you weren't a musician, you wanted to be, you know, that was one of those moments in time that everything changed.
Amazing.
You know, there's a bunch of them. We can see them all on that musical timeline.
Yeah.
You know, same thing as, you know, a few years down the road, as, you know, when Zeppelin came out, I see so many Zeppelin fans, Zeppelin this and Zeppelin that. And I'm thinking to myself, I was buying those records when they were released.
Wow.
That's $2.99 at Montgomery Ward's in downtown Portland, you know.
Yeah. So you grew up here in Portland?
I grew up in Portland, yeah.
Nice,
I was born in Roseburg, Oregon.
Okay.
And I was adopted, and my parents brought me up to Portland in 59.
Wow. Okay.
Dating myself. I just told you how old I was.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
You just reminded me of something. Somebody actually just sent me something last night when they saw me promote or post this show. Somebody that grew up with you out here. I had forgotten that she asked this. Okay, hold on. Pardon my unprofessionalism here, but
she.
Yeah. No. So yeah, maybe I shouldn't bring this up. No, it's well, you know what? I'll tell you what, I'll find it in a second, because there was something else I ran across. Larry Toering, you know, he's you know, one of the biggest Pete Holmes
Larry's great
fans
guy.
and supporters.
He's a great guy.
He said he wanted to tell you that he wanted to tell you thank you, because he learned a lot about relationships and how to keep connections around because of friendships, you know. And that is one of those things that I've seen you maintain, and you know, the important connections and relationships that really have evolved into your musical side of things. You know, and we can talk about this sort of transition, because you had this incredible professional career where you played with some of the biggest names in music. You've also had, a romantic relationship, the passing of your wife. That was a big moment. You talk about these shifts in music, but this is a big shift in your life too. And maybe let's talk a little bit about that in your life, buddy. And because I really do want to honor Annette's memory. So you want to talk a little bit about how you guys met?
Yeah, we met, I think it was I want to say 1980.
Wow.
And I remember seeing her many times at the clubs. The club scene was big there in Portland at that time, right? And she was always hanging out at the clubs. She was associated with the guys. She grew up in Beaverton. She was associated with the guys from Sequel.
Okay.
And so I'd always see her at these clubs, and I was like, wow. I told my buddy once. I said, I'm gonna marry that chick, and I don't know what that was all about, but so we met. Had this crazy relationship for a couple years in Portland.
Mm-hmm.
The band moved Black and Blue when we moved down to LA. Of course, I left everything behind. I threw my bed in a truck and off I went, or a mattress, I should say. It's the tried and true rock star moving story.
Yeah.
And she came down and stayed in the house that we had down in LA with me for a little bit. Uh, and then I went off to Europe and did the first record, first Black and Blue record. And throughout the years, we'd see each other. Sometimes I'd see her for 2 weeks. Then I wouldn't see her for 3 months.
Okay.
Then I'd see her for 2 days, and then I wouldn't see her for 3 years.
That was just because you guys were really busy. And you
yeah, well,
okay.
she came back to Portland, and I was living in LA.
Yeah.
So this relationship was one of, it wasn't really maintained at a real high level at that time.
Yeah, well, you're young.
Yeah, and so, she had relationships, I had relationships, but we always connected at these times when I came to Portland. Not like every time I'm coming to Portland, I'm calling you up and I'm hanging. It was more like they were special times for something was going on at that time, and she would be there.
Wow.
Or I would be playing a gig in Portland somewhere, and there she was. I remember we did the live album, live Black and Blue album, and there she was. Wow. I didn't see her in years.
So no heads up,
no heads up.
You're coming down.
I was doing a record with Ian Gillan called Dreamcatcher. We were doing the tracks down here in LA. I'm in Los Angeles, and after we got done one night of recording, the whole band went out to Cat and Fiddle.
Oh, nice.
And we got the table, we're sitting there, Ian and Pat Regan and all the guys, and waitress comes to the table, and I turn around, and it's Annette, who I haven't seen in 5 years.
She is the waitress at Cat and Fiddle?
Yeah, she was a bartender waitress there.
Wow, look at that.
And I was like, yeah, this chick looks unreal. It's like I went up and kind of, I'd seen her in so long, and when she always worked, she was always very military about it. Okay. I'm working, don't talk to me. I'm not gonna, I can't have it. I'm really focused. Just as it should be. And
right.
So things like that. Reconnecting with her down the way, and then finally, in I think 1999, it happened again. We bumped into each other, and something went bam. We went really after
almost 20 years.
20 years of this.
Yeah.
There was a different dynamic.
Wow. And did you know she was moving to LA?
Well, at that point in time, I moved her down to LA.
Oh, okay. But when you said she was working Cat and Fiddle.
Well, she would come down here and live. She had an apartment. And she'd come down here and be down here for 2 months, and she'd get tired of it and go back to Portland.
So it was nothing to do with you.
No. She'd do this migration back and forth, and sometimes she'd be up in Portland for years and wouldn't be down here. So,
Do you believe in fate?
Yeah, so I mean, I moved her down here in 2000, and we got married shortly after that.
Wow.
And it was really simple. It was really easy because of the history that we had. All the BS was off the table, and it was just real, man. It was just real as it was ever going to get, obviously.
Yeah. That the courting piece was done over 20 years time, right? So you figure out each other's idiosyncrasies, and you can
absolutely.
Oh, that's beautiful. What a fairy book, sort of story to get there.
And it was still changing and evolving as we got older. As you do, you start realizing other things, and you start becoming a different person yet again. You're going to spend your life with somebody. That is changing you. Prior to that, I'm still alone, just playing all the time. Like I said, I doing a lot of recording. I mean, the entire decade of the 90s was me just being in studios with various artists. So, and kind of like I am now. I just I always have, I put my nose to the grindstone, and I go, I look for work. I take it really seriously. And, so it was just a different thing,
So you were married. Um, you got married. You said in 2000,
We got married in 2003.
2003.
We
Okay.
started living together in 2000. Um, got this place here that I'm in now, here in Los Angeles.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, then, one day she was doing something in the kitchen and had a pain and in her right side. And we, took her into the doctor and found out that she had some cancer in there.
Wow. That was in 2017.
That was 2016.
16.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Right at the beginning of the year. And it was, my mom had just passed a month earlier.
Wow.
So we weren't too worried about this. Of course, it was uncharted territory, but we figured, we'll get it in, get it out there, and get it taken care of, which we did. We had it removed. She had a mastectomy. Uh, she recovered and was cancer free.
Yeah.
For a certain amount of time. And then, I think that a lot of people dropped the ball. She shouldn't have passed away. A lot of people dropped the ball. And, it was just you're just navigating these uncharted waters. I mean, there is no book for this stuff.
Right. Oh,
Some
yeah.
of these things that I'm seeing and doing, I just, has never entered my mind. I didn't know that people went through this kind of, hell.
Man, I mean, you did. I know for a few years, buddy, you guys, you had a lot of community that really was rallying around behind you. But when the cancer came back, I remember heartfelt messages that you put out to your circle, that said, cancer's back, we're fighting this thing. And it was a really aggressive fight that you and Annette were working on. I know that scary.
I did that. She wasn't into the whole social media thing. She was more into the actually going out and meeting and hanging and that was really her gig. As a bartender, she had worked at the Baked Potato, both locations here in Hollywood and North Hollywood. She Cat and Fiddle, like I said, all these places where she had made all these connections. I mean, she had a clientele like wherever she went. If she was going to bartend at the Palladium, she worked at the Palladium here in Hollywood. Wherever she was going, boy, they flocked. So, but I think that I shared this with everybody because I felt that everybody knowing about it and the prayers and the vibes would help.
Yeah.
And she loved it. She loved it. I mean, she never got on and said thank you or anything like that. She did that all through me. And I wanted her privacy to be respected, of course.
Sure.
But that's why I did it. I just wanted people to know what she was going through. And it helped me too. It was kind of therapeutic for me because I'm sitting there, I'm kind of on this island.
Yeah. Right. I mean,
my mom had just passed away. Her parents had a couple years earlier had passed.
And that's
we were just both of them passed. We saw both of them pass. Her mom passed of cancer, and she took care of her mom. She was her mom's caregiver for a good year and a half.
Wow.
And so we had just wrapped that chapter up.
Wow.
So we really had nobody here in California since she was born here, but we had since that went down, we had no family here. So it made me feel good to talk about it. Obviously, like you see me kind of rambling here. It helps me, man. It's therapeutic,
That's why I'm here right now, buddy. I mean, this to me is the way that I can connect with people that matter to me. If we can't be face to face and give you a hug,
which I love. I mean, I hope that's not something that we can't do anymore. The whole handshake and the love part of it, man. I mean, that would be tragic. that
Yeah.
I just have to see you and kick your shoe.
Yeah, no.
You know?
Well, hopefully they bust out this vaccination, right? So that we can take it. But
Look, as long as I'm not sick and you're not sick, I'm not,
yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
holding back.
I like that. You
Yeah.
did you get any kind of therapy or any kind of help along the way during that time that kind of helped you manage the fear and the anxiety and
Not professionally, and I
okay.
still haven't. And a lot of people, and it's not because I don't reject the idea.
Hmm.
It's not because I don't want to. Um, to be honest with you, I just haven't done it. I think as time goes by, I become a little more frightened of it
Really?
because, well, yes, because I'm, like we were talking about earlier, I am moving forward uh, with her memory by my side. But as I get further away from it, I'm just afraid that it may bring me back to somewhere I don't want to be. Now,
Sure.
I don't know that that's true necessarily. I have had a small group of people and certain individuals in particular that have been there for me
Yeah.
and are there for me to call, that I can, reflect and bounce and say anything I want. And, that's been therapeutic. So if that counts,
Yeah, I think it does, man. I think to me, it just seems like being able to talk to somebody that's been there, right? I mean, if you've got some friends that have had, similar situations, whether they're professional or not,
yes, of
it's
course.
really tough to talk to somebody that hasn't lost someone close, right? And
It is, and this one gal in particular has lost somebody right around the same time that I did. That I lost Annette.
yeah,
So we were both in the same, the same. We like to call it sometimes, the same shipwreck.
yeah,
The ship went down. We're both at sea. I don't know you. You don't know me. We're hanging onto this board. We don't know what's coming next, but this is hellish,
yeah.
you know?
Oh,
And there's wild outs, the weather and the coldness and just frightening. And we're alone,
yeah,
we're alone out here. So, um, yeah, man, it really does help because if you haven't gone through this, I can't, you know, I can't, it's hard to explain. It really is hard to explain the emotion, you know,
you
and the
bet.
stuff that I saw, some of the stuff that I went through with her was just ghoulish, for lack of a better word. I don't want to see anybody go through that, especially my wife,
Yeah,
but she was a fighter, man. She was strong. Oh my God. She was, you know, I'm when it comes to that kind of stuff, I was like, wow, I don't know if I could do that. She's like, they call us, hey, you got to come into emergency surgery tomorrow morning, 7:00. She was like, let's go. I'm
wow.
like, I'm start kind of shaking a little
Yeah,
bit and
yeah,
start getting weird. And she's like, what else? What else am I going to do? This is my life now. This
yeah,
is my life. I'm fighting for my life. I'm doing this shit for my life.
yeah, man. Well,
Yeah.
that's a pretty remarkable partner. I mean, what an influence, right? For you too. Like you got to see somebody that, because you and I also just mentioned before we hopped on, it was almost like the universe just said, "Hey, Pete, let me hand you a couple other things. Let's just see how
Yeah.
much you can handle." Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're sort of holding Annette here today, but you mentioned her birthday's coming up in a couple weeks. So
Yeah. June 16th. Yeah.
yeah, it's
It's
the
a
whole,
first. It'll be the first one since she's passed.
yeah.
And it hasn't been a year since she's passed. She passed August 10th. So, uh, we'll see what that day brings. A lot of reflection for sure.
I'll bet. Yeah.
Yeah.
You've had, time to reflect even more. I mean, right now, everything's been shut down for a few months. And
Yeah.
like I was saying, the universe has kind of just said, "Hey, Pete,
Yeah.
here's another couple of speed bumps to throw your way and see how you handle
Yeah.
this." So
Absolutely.
are you, I'm glad that you've got people to lean on during this time. Do you feel like you're connecting with people a little bit more because you're not out gigging as much?
No, I don't. I don't think so. My circle of friends is pretty small. People I let in is probably even smaller.
Yeah.
I'm really in my element when I'm out playing, because I just love to do that and be around people. When I'm not, I'm a little hesitant. But being here at our place, with the exception of a few things that I've changed around and got rid of and so on and so forth, it's pretty much the same. There's actually, excuse me, there's actually still clothes of hers hanging on at waiting to be worn.
Wow.
There's books and that she was reading, things that she was writing down, still sitting on the table that I haven't moved.
Yeah. What a beautiful.
And I feel some people think, well, God, how could you be there? Well, where am I going to go, man? Where am I going to run to that I'm going to say, oh, this is all new and completely different? I feel really grounded here.
Sure.
Absolutely not. This was where we lived for 20 years.
Yeah.
This is where she still lives.
Yeah.
This is where her things are. This is where we are right now, even.
Your memories.
So, well,
everything.
and her, her spirit, her vibe is all through this place, and it's very comfortable. It's sad. Yeah, there's times of sad. I'm sad every day.
Yeah.
But it's comfortable.
Yeah. That's real, man. What a beautiful way to honor her memory and legacy, buddy, by just experiencing this and feeling it and just living through it. It's really healthy, buddy. I'm proud of you.
Thank you. I don't think that I'm doing anything that anybody else. Everybody would deal with this in a different way, of course.
They would, yeah.
But I'm sure that that the feelings are all kind of end up in the same place. I would hope, anyway. There's a right way and a wrong way to deal with it too. There's not a book on it. There's a right way and a wrong way in a sense of being destructive anyway or being positive. That's all I can really say.
Yeah.
If you're going to lay on the floor and cry all day and that's therapeutic, well, then that's the right way for you. Sure. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, man.
But I don't know how I'm dealing with it, to be honest, but it has to be dealt with, so.
Well, you've chosen not to sweep it under the rug, which I think is the healthy way, right? I mean, you're just
never.
And I've got, you and I have had conversations for years about ways to handle destructive behavior, healthy ways to deal with all that kind of stuff too.
Yeah.
I think one of the things I've really valued is, the first time we met, you and I sat down and you expressed your heart to random strangers in a way that's very authentic. And I think it puts people at ease and it's inspiring in a lot of ways, not just for drummers, but it's nice to see somebody that has weathered a lot of storms doing what you do and still comes out, even keel. I mean, I know you've had crazy stories. I think about some of the first conversations you and I had about when Black and Blue first got signed and the parties,
Yeah. The rockstar lifestyle is real for sure.
Well, maybe let's go back to that a little bit because
Sure.
When you guys moved from Portland to LA, how did you, Jamie, Whoop, Patrick, how did you guys all connect? And Tommy, did you grow up together?
We didn't. Jamie and I grew up in the same area, and which was Northeast Portland. He went to Cleveland High, which I'm not sure what that's on. That's on Powell or Stark or
that's right.
Something
Powell.
down there.
Yeah.
And I went to Madison, which is out on 82nd.
Right.
So we were still, didn't grow up close to each other, but I would see this guy periodically at rock concerts and at those types of things. And he was the only guy in the crowd that looked like a rock star. It was like, who's the real, there was two of them. It was Tommy and Jamie.
Oh, yeah.
Who are the real tall guys with all the hair
that
look like rock stars? Everybody else is in their jeans and their straight long hair and they're, whatever. And here these two guys are that look like they're in the Cars or something.
Right.
And so I think I ran track in high school for a little bit, and I had a meet. We had a meet with Cleveland, and Jamie was on the other team.
Oh, really? Okay.
And, I was running stuff like the 220 and the 100-yard dash and the long jump, and he was running those same events. Now, he'll claim that he beat me and everything.
Yeah.
And I'm just, whatever. He knows that's wrong, but he's got to say something. But I remember
he was a drummer then too, right?
He was in the marching band.
Right.
He was good, man. He's still good. He's still great. But as the club scene really got happening in the late 70s, early 80s, that early 80 thing in Portland, man, it was almost akin to what Los Angeles was going to be, in the sense of that every club was pumping. There was probably, 7 to 10 clubs around the Portland area, and they all had bands almost every night of the week, probably every night of the week.
Wow.
Their big bands were on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, then the other bands, but everybody was getting sort of a chance to play. But it was really happening. And I would go and see Tommy and Jamie were playing in, I don't know what band it was at that. Maybe it was Movie Star at that time.
Right, yeah.
And I thought, they were up there with the hair and the clothes and the makeup, where everybody else was just playing in what they got off work in. And I thought, that's the band. Those are the guys I want to play with. I want to be in that band. They got a drummer. How am I going to be in that band?
So Jamie wasn't playing drums in Movie Star?
He was.
Oh yeah. So
I say so they got a drummer.
Right. Yeah.
And it was Jamie. And they had Julian Raymond was their lead singer. Okay. Julian went on to be a head A&R guy at oh gosh, I can't remember the label that signed Queen, that reissued all the big Queen catalog. He actually was worked with Glenn Campbell before Glenn passed away. I saw the Glenn Campbell documentary. Julian was in that quite a bit. But I just thought, there's the Rocks. There's the only band in Portland that looks like they should be playing the Coliseum.
Yeah. But
I can't be in that because they got a drummer who's killer. And they got, how many, whatever. And I was playing and they were playing Fridays and Saturdays. I was in a band in and out of bands at that time, and playing in a band that was probably playing on the Sundays and Mondays.
Okay. Yeah. And you and Jamie had already raced each other in track. You didn't want to break his leg, so he couldn't.
Didn't want to break his leg. Yeah. And I was playing with a band up there at that time, and just kind of going through the motions, waiting for the next thing to happen. I have to say, happened for me. That's kind of how I've lived my life. I know that something's coming. I know I've always had this intuition, so to say. It's a long thing to get into, but it's followed me until this day.
Really?
Absolutely.
Then bookmark that then, because I do want to come back to that. That's okay, cool.
And so I'm playing in these bands and blah, blah, blah. And I get a phone call one night, and it's Jamie. And he's kind of stunned. I mean, hey, man. And he's like, hey, we're starting a new band here. Tommy and I I'm giving you the gist of it because I am long-winded.
Me too.
Yeah. We're starting a new band here. We want to go a little heavier than the material we've been playing. Every band in Portland was playing covers at that time.
Okay.
That you could dance to appease the crowds and to appease the booking agency.
Right.
Which I hated.
Yeah.
Whole nother story. And he said, so we want to go a little heavier. We want to do something different. We've been playing, Cars tunes and Cheap Trick, which we love, but we want to do something different. Now,
let me ask you. So he'd obviously seen you play And he knew.
Oh yeah, he'd
you
seen
were
me
a heavy
play
hitter.
many times. We had by this time in our relationship and careers, we were both well aware of each other, and
Okay. And you were a heavy hitter then.
I was a heavy hitter.
Yeah.
And he said, so we can't find a singer here in Portland, so I'm going to step out from behind the drums, and we need a drummer, and you're my first choice, and do you want to come and play? Now, I don't remember if I actually auditioned. I don't remember me going there and there being a bunch of guys standing around, or I don't remember how that process happened, but yeah, we rehearsed out at Tommy's parents a couple times, and at the old Horseshoe Music down there on 39th, which is now, I guess, Cesar Chavez.
Right.
And yeah, started a band that we decided, right at that time, Maiden was just coming out. This rock thing was just starting to grab a hold.
Okay.
And the LA scene was really happening.
We
were up on
80.
Yeah, 80, 81, and we were really aware of that. So we said, hey, let's borrow a little of this Los Angeles stuff, and take it to Portland, because these people certainly don't know it. Where this is going to come from. So, and continued to. At that time, those guys went from a band that was booked all the time because they were playing dance music to this band that had this obnoxiously loud drummer that played music that people couldn't dance to. I mean, we're playing Rothschild by Iron Maiden, and all these just rock stuff that we liked, with the underlining intent that I believe that we're not going to stay here and do this forever.
Yeah, you knew. This is part of the intuition.
Absolutely.
Yeah. How about the rest of the guys? Did you all feel like this is a united front? We all knew that if we go to LA or wherever we go, this thing is next level.
We had a plan.
Yeah.
We had a lot of friends in Los Angeles, different friends, different people we had known together, and, just as individuals. And we started coming down here and getting booked on a Tuesday evening at the Troubadour, which was a big deal. Right. And then we'd book like 3 gigs if we could over whatever amount of time. If it was 3 days, it was 3 days. If it was 2 weeks, whatever. And we started coming down and doing that every month. And we did that for a little over a year. And we built a following.
Making no money, right?
Making no money. Just built a following. Come back to Portland and play, honing our skills all the while, for both places, I think, really. Bringing back this kind of LA vibe that people were seeing and kind of going, well, something different about that. And going to LA and being the complete opposite, bringing this kind of naivete to the stage, because we're not competing with. I mean, there, the Motleys and the Ratts of the world were out there. They just weren't. Nobody was signed yet.
Right. This is the forefront of this all.
Yeah. So we just were playing. We were just being ourselves, like that band, Black and Blue, has always been. And at one point, some management down here saw us and they said, hey, we want to move you to Los Angeles. They saw us and said, hey, we want to work with you, because now we had amassed this following. We were selling out the Troubadour. We were selling out the Roxy.
Nice.
And we were still living in Portland.
Right.
Are you ready to make that commitment?
That's what management said.
Well, that's what they said. And that's what we said to everybody in the band.
Yeah.
At that time, we had a different guitar player than Whoop. Maybe not at that.
Portland guy.
Portland guy.
Okay.
Yeah. V Ripper.
Okay.
Virgil Ripper, and he was one of the guys that just was not interested in coming down to LA. Changing his life, doing all that. I mean, of course, there's no guarantees, and you got to do what you're going to do, right?
Right. Yeah.
But we had all said to ourselves, and I'm sure that we probably had Whoop. I know I had Whoop he had been in the band for a while at that time. We said, look, we've gone as far as we can here.
Yeah.
We want to play original music. I don't want to play in front of dance bands. Let's go to LA and try and get a deal. Let's go to LA. I think you would put it and try and make it.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the, what's the worst thing that can happen? You can move back to Portland and play in Portland.
Right. Yeah. And what was this management offering? Were they offering to be able to like shop you around to deals, or?
They got us a big house in Los Angeles, a big empty old house right in the middle of Hollywood.
Okay.
Right next to Guitar Center on Sunset.
Wow. Okay.
Literally, you could walk from the house to the Guitar Center in 2 minutes.
Nice.
We'll pay the rent. We'll pay the electricity. Rest is on you guys.
Wow.
Where you're going to eat, what you're going to do, how you're going to get money, blah 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 blah.
Okay.
And we'll shop the band.
In exchange for
paying that for you being down.
No, but I mean, what were they getting out of it?
They were getting nothing out of it at that time.
Simply
managing a band that had a following and was up and coming. We were relevant in the whole LA scene at that time.
They were hoping for cuts of performance, monies.
Well, when I say management, it was one guy.
Okay.
It was one guy that brought us down here, and
he had a cigar. And no, I'm just kidding.
He did.
Did he?
He certainly did.
Of course he did.
Certainly did. Of course he did.
Yeah, mustache.
And he was just he was a go-getter. He had some different ways of doing things. We loved him, and he just bullied his way into. He didn't care who you were. He didn't care if you were John Clodner, and he didn't care if you were so and so.
Yeah.
But we didn't have to do too much shopping. Our live, selling out every place we played, and the live shows were speaking for themselves.
Yeah.
So, excuse me. It took about a year.
Okay.
But it was a rocket ship of a year.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So you're mostly playing around these venues in LA and kicking ass and selling these shows out.
Yeah.
You got to talk about a rocket ship. So what goes on? I mean, everybody kind of finding day jobs, and you guys are just like.
Some guys finding day jobs. Some guys,
like living off girl. Well, okay. So
drinking all day, partying all day.
Well, I have to ask this, right? Because people like young bands that move to LA and they think, somebody believes in us enough to pay my rent. Hell yeah, I'm going to go down there and I'm just going to screw off, right? And, But it sounded like there was so much momentum going in your guys' sort of drive that you were like, okay, we're going to do what it takes to make this thing the next level. And so I just thinking about your days, like what those days consist of, right? So you're not just hanging out at Guitar Center playing guitars and drums. You're going to go out, network, like.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Build your fan base.
Fan base was pretty big, like I say, by that time, but it's still, the job is never done. Yeah. I mean, we were playing all the time. We were playing we didn't move down there and then sit.
Right.
We, hit the ground running. We were playing every weekend, at different clubs, every weekend, rehearsing all week, writing songs. That was the motivation. It was real. It was the real deal, when we had nothing to do, which was, meaning there was a couple days off there, and we didn't have to rehearse. We didn't have a gig that weekend, blah, blah, blah. The craziness ensued. We went to all the clubs and hung out with all our friends. Everybody was our friends, all the guys, from, David Lee Roth to, when we came down here, one of the guys that I lived with, oddly enough, and the band did stay with too, was Robin Crosby.
Oh, really?
And Ratt was just starting, and we were sharing gear with them. We'd do a bill. We'd do a Ratt and a Black and Blue show, and we'd play the same gear, and,
wow.
Yeah, and nobody was signed. Nobody was signed yet. Motley wasn't signed yet. They were certainly the talk of the town.
Sure. Well,
But you know,
and Ratt too. I mean, I knew Ratt had
yeah,
certainly had
yeah,
a big following before they broke, right?
yeah.
So
Oh,
that,
absolutely. Yeah, they
that's
were huge.
amazing that you were living in a house with Robin, back like at that point. That's what a
Yeah,
coming full circle, really.
it really is. You know, and one of the nicest guys on the planet. You know, just I remember one time he had an old beat up car, and he says, "You ever been to Cantor's? Cantor's is a famous deli down here in the Fairfax district." And I said, "What is that?" Cantor's. Go, oh, it's the best deli, best juice. Get in the car, we'll go to Cantor's. So just him and I jumped in the car, took me to Cantor's. I had no money. He paid for everything, and just had a big smile on his face watching me eat all this stuff. It was great. It was great time. He was a real guy. He really was.
I like hearing that, man.
Yeah, he was the real deal.
You all right, so that year you talked about this rocket ship year, so
Yeah.
you've tell me like how the deal came about. How did who was there a bidding war for Black and Blue?
There was a bidding war. We were just uh, waiting for the best offer,
Okay.
whatever that meant. I think that probably a lot of them were similar, but we wanted to go with somebody that we thought would pay us a lot of attention.
Okay.
We would be their baby. And of course we wanted, wanted a real good advance, of course. So people were bidding back and forth, and we were just playing shows, having them come down. I don't remember all that, but I do remember one night we played the Troubadour. It was sold out. I mean, it was like you couldn't get another person in there. And I think her name, I can't. She was an A&R rep from Geffen.
Okay.
And her last name was Black. I don't want to say Karen Black because that sounds like the actress, but
right.
She came down and saw the band and came backstage afterward, and she said, "Oh, that was just unreal." She'd go, "I'd sign you guys right now, but I want John Kalodner to sign you. He's out of town. He's head A&R at Geffen. I want him to see and sign you." Yeah. So same thing kind of happened. I think, a couple weeks later, we did the same thing. We played. Show was packed to the rafters. We got off stage. We're backstage. John was back there. There's a bunch of people back there, and he just said, "Hey, on behalf of Geffen Records, we want to welcome you to the family."
Wow.
And Geffen was a great label for us at that time because really the only acts that they had were Sammy Hagar and Peter Gabriel, and those were considered their rock acts. Right. So we thought, look, they're like, you're going to be the next, you're going to be the American Def Leppard. You're getting all the attention. We're going to shower all the gifts on you guys. And we thought that's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Right there, right there, So, So that deal went down, and then the search and for the right producer and where to record that first record.
And you mentioned you did that first record in Europe?
Did the first record in Germany in a small little town called Stammeln, which is right outside Cologne.
Okay.
And with Dieter Dierks, who was hot at the time. He had just done Love at First Sting, and he had just Blackout and all the Scorpion stuff.
Yeah.
So he went to that studio with that team and recorded that first record. Yeah.
Interesting, man. Like, the Dieter Dierks era was probably first connection with you and Schenker, huh?
Was interesting. Indirectly, in a Kevin Bacon kind of way.
Yeah. I call it the Kevin Rankin kind of way, but that's okay.
Okay, there you go.
Sorry, Bacon.
Yeah, right.
No, okay. So, all right. So,
but what a I mean, I'd never been, out of the country.
Yeah, man. What a rockstar moment, huh?
Yeah. It was scary enough driving. It was scary enough going, well, I'm leaving Portland. I'm going to Los Angeles to live.
Yeah.
Like I said, we had bought a truck with the money that we had made from playing around Portland. We bought a big 18-foot truck, and we threw all our gear in there, and we threw the beds in there, and moved to Los Angeles. the truck was how we moved the gear around playing any gig, even up in
Yeah.
Portland. You know, we just would so we didn't have to rent a truck. We owned it.
Yeah.
And you know, yeah, throwing your stuff in there, throw a mattress in there and a dresser, and drive to LA.
Wow.
We pulled up in the middle of the night. It was dark. There's the house. Throw your shit in the house on the floor. Wake up the next morning going, where am I?
Yeah.
Literally, what's around? Where do I go to? Yeah. Where do I eat? Where do I get? I have nothing. Now I really just have the bed and the dresser.
The kids. I mean, you guys are like young punks, man.
Oh yeah, we were all early 20s.
Okay, yeah. I think about you being in Germany. You know, it's kind of like, you know, sort of the Beatles story. You know, just go to Germany, right, and have to really break the band and have this be an international band and not just a local phenomenon, right? So, yeah.
You know, Geffen had a lot of money. They could have. Why wouldn't they have just brought Dieter over here to the U.S. and do the record here? Why fly 5 guys over there, put them up for 3 months? I mean, I wasn't there that long. You know, I did my beds and it was probably out of there and for after a month. But why would you do that? This house was unreal with the cobblestone streets and the mist hanging in the air when you got up and you walked through the small square in the middle of this small little German town in the early 80s. You know,
well, you had to get the vibe, man.
Dude, well, you couldn't. It was a vibe. It was like I say, it was a rocket ride, and we were just along wherever it was going. We were just going, oh, we're going that way. We're going that way. You know, it was wild. It was really wild. And, you know, we did some shows over there while we were over there.
Oh, you did? Okay.
We did 2 nights at the Hammersmith, when it was the Hammersmith at that time, with Whitesnake.
Oh, wow.
And it was the Whitesnake with Cozy Powell.
Oh, my God.
And Bernie Marsden. And at that time, John Lord was playing keys from Deep Purple.
Wow.
So that was the band. Coverdale singing.
Yeah. Huge.
Bernie Marsden, John Sykes. That slided in era.
Right. Oh my God, man.
And so we opened for them 2 nights at the Hammersmith, which, if you're familiar with the Hammersmith, you know that everybody from the Beatles, and everybody in there. Now, it's not called that anymore. So, you know.
But you and Cozy Powell on stage in the same night is pretty badass, man. Because your playing actually reminds me, like, just powerful, you know, and really, you've got this cool syncopation, you know, to your playing. I mean, you really have defined parts. There's nothing tentative about your playing ever. In a very, you know, so as you know, as drummers go, you'd just be staring at the drums all night long at that night, you know.
Yeah, it was really very surreal. It was surreal before the shows at soundcheck for both bands. You know, it's pretty normal on the level that or through the years of me playing places with national acts and playing coliseums and stuff like that, to not see the headliner or the opener, let alone hang out with them. We sat in the Hammersmith with the Whitesnake, just sitting in the seat. I mean, I'm sitting there with Cozy. I'm sitting there with John Lord. And everybody's just kind of talking, and it was just very matter of fact.
Yeah.
I have a horrible memory, and those are one of the memories that is always in my mind's eye.
That sticks.
Sitting there with those guys.
You know, okay, so you were talking about not just your premonition, but early on, you said that there was something that you have sort of a philosophy about the way that you connect with people, that I'm wondering if those early memories of them just hanging with you as, you know, a formative time, because I will say this about you, Pete, even I remember when Black and Blue got inducted in the Oregon Music Hall of Fame. I was working on the board at that point. I took my youngest son down to come see you guys at Soundcheck, and you and Tommy sat down with my boy, took pictures, and just hung out and talked to him. And there was just a sincerity, you know, that was, you know, that you could have been so busy with Soundcheck and all the other stuff that goes on. You were being inducted in the Hall of Fame. You know, it was kind of a big deal, a homecoming. But it was just very, very sincere. And I thought, what a warm human being this guy is, you know, and I would wonder if some of that came from your early moments of being out there with bands and seeing that you can just connect with
I think it's kind of a, it humbles me for you to say that, and it's a funny thing to speak on. I've just never been that way. I've always wanted to be a musician, rock star, without the rock star connotation.
Yeah.
And like I say, growing up in the 70s, I had my own fantasy of what these guys were like.
Right.
And that really molded how I was going to be, without knowing about it.
Yeah.
I've met a lot of guys, a lot of my heroes, not a lot, but I've met some heroes that, it's kind of like, bummer. He wasn't the guy that I thought. I think we kind of all have done that,
Yeah.
Instead of, am I able to cuss on this show?
Of course. Yeah. There's no rule here.
Instead of walking away going, oh, this guy, that guy was a prick or whatever. I just kind of went, he's, look what he does. It should be held at that standard. I thought that,
Yeah.
but I was just humbled that I was meeting these people. I was blown away that I was meeting guys, some of my idols, Ainsley Dunbar, Steve Smith. Boy, I got stories of Steve long before Journey, a couple of years before Journey, him coming back to my studio and us playing together. And after he played, I saw him play at the Paramount. He was with Montrose, who was opening for Journey at that time.
Oh my God.
And I was a huge Ainsley fan. And I said to Ainsley, I was backstage, I said, Ainsley, you want to go play drums? Even that, I'm not into that right now. And Steve Smith's coming down the stairs. And I said, hey, there's a drummer for Montrose. I said, hey, you want to go play drums? And he says, is it a smoking kit? And I said, yeah. He said, let's go.
Nice.
So this guy, this 25-year-old guy, jumps in the car. He has no idea where he's going. Whole nother story, that thing. But
no kidding, man. I love that's a story we're telling, buddy. I love that.
Yeah. Well, he jumped in the car, and we were so blown away to have a rock star. This guy was fantastic. He was playing with Montrose. They were doing, I think that at that time, I don't know what record it was, but they were playing a lot of instrumentals. Montrose was at that time, stuff like Town Without Pity, and he was just smoking. He had this big double bass kit and all these cymbals, and he was playing traditional grip, which right away you knew something was up. You're like, I was like, oh, this guy knows what he's doing. Yeah. And he was just unreal. He was just unreal, of course.
Right.
So we took him back to the place, me and my buddy guitar player, Marty McRae.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but him Marty. And I, we played in a lot of bands together in Portland. So we were at this concert. We were both Journey fans. We abducted Steve. He got in the car. We took him back to our rehearsal place, and we were just so blown away that we had a guy that we just saw play at the Paramount with us, that we got down there and realized that none of the gear is set up because we had just gigged. Everything was still. So he helped me set up the big, I had a Ludwig stainless steel Octopus at that time.
Oh, wow.
And he helped me set it up. And by the time it's got to be like 1 a.m. now. Now we're setting it up, and we're just going back and forth playing. He'd play for 3 minutes. I'd play for 3 minutes. Anyway, and this was at Marty's dad. We rehearsed in the bottom of an appliance store. And at that time, it had all the VHS and everything brand new that was coming out in the store.
Okay.
And we had videotapes. So Marty was able to record Midnight Special and Don Kirshner's rock concert on beta at that time, and nobody had it. We had it. And so Steve came up, and we sat there. We'd go to the top of the store. We rehearsed in the basement, top of the store, drinking beers, doing whatever else, watching these concerts that, Midnight Special stuff he hadn't seen, stuff we were turning. Then we go back down, and, we did that all night. Returned him to the Benson Hotel at about 8 a.m, and he went on his way, and Marty and I we've got one photograph from that.
Oh, still have
and
it.
Of course it had to be a click, it had to be this thing. Yeah. I don't actually have it. Marty has it, but, so we took him back, and we're just blown away for weeks that we met the guy and Montrose,
right.
come to find, the next time, come to find that Ainsley's out. Who's the new drummer for Journey? Are they coming to the Paramount? We're going to go. We're big fans. Who is it? Oh, it's Steve Smith, who played with Montreux. Our jaws dropped.
Yeah, of course, man.
And, the rest is history for Journey, of course.
Have you hung with Steve and talked to him about those days?
A couple times I have. He's a little reluctant to talk about it now, probably because of everything that we did besides playing.
Right.
But I mean, and maybe he doesn't remember all that stuff and kind of wants to go. He's like, oh,
right.
I don't know if I want to go there. Don't tell me what don't tell me what we were doing. But
he's sophisticated now.
He's very sophisticated now, but he's one of the best, man.
Yeah.
And at that time, he had just recorded Enigmatic Ocean.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if you know that album with Jean-Luc Ponty, but he had just finished that and then went on and got the Montrose gig. So he went from this massive prog rock genre,
like fusion kind of thing.
One of my favorite records of his playing, with his playing on it. Right to Montrose. He's looking for a gig. That was a record in time. I mean, gets to play with Ponte, who was, of course, with Zappa and with John McLaughlin and all these guys. He gets to go on and play with Montrose. I'm looking for. He's in the right place at the right time. They're opening for Journey.
Right.
It's one of those moments that I was talking about.
Had he not done all of those things, just paid the dues and just put together his fusion chops, his prog chops, and he had jazz even then, right? And he was a wicked rock drummer, and he had the hang. Had he not been receptive to you going out, because I mean, I've mentioned this a bunch to buddies on this show, is that having the chops is only half the gig, right? I mean, the hang is every bit as important, and obviously, these guys in Journey saw him on the Montrose gig and knew we could take him on the road with us and be really comfortable that this guy's not going to be a shit show, right? So
I think that having the chops is maybe 25% of it.
Yeah.
I think that everything else that you just mentioned is what's important.
Yeah.
Because nobody's going to hire you to play a drum solo. We've all heard this.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to hire you. I mean, everybody's going to be blown away that you can do it.
Yeah.
But that you can play all this stuff and that you have all the technique and wow, he's great. But we sat him down behind there and or that's not what, man, you're unreal, but that's not the guy we're looking for.
Exactly.
So it's the hang. It really is the hang. Your personality, being professional, being a pro. A lot of stuff that you can go to Berkeley and take 6 years of classes and graduate, but you're not going to learn unless you're actually in it. I knew a gal who was a psychologist, and she said, you have the equivalent, with your background, is the equivalent to a master's.
Sure.
In music. And I said, well, some of that stuff you're not going to learn unless you're on a stage. Let me reframe that. Unless you're on the stage in Madison Square Garden, playing to a sold out crowd.
Right.
Where do you go to get that education?
Yeah.
You go to Madison Square Garden and play in front of that crowd.
That's the only thing.
That's it.
Yeah. I mean, you can't act like you've been there before if you hadn't, like sort of put yourself in situations close to, you work your way up. I jumped ahead a little bit. I took us out of the Black and Blues story, but after the first record came out, I knew like Hold On to 18 came out. You guys hit because MTV at that point was just breaking too, right? So the hard rock thing was being sort of slowly introduced on MTV. I remember, bands like A Flock of Seagulls were, popping on MTV, and then the hard rock vibe.
Yeah.
Like I said, I still have my vinyl from that first record, and I remember. Okay, this band is dangerous, but when you saw you guys in the video, the difference between what I saw Black and Blue doing from Ratt, Motley Crue, those guys looked like they were ready for a brawl, right?
Right.
They were sort of articulating this tough guy look. The Black and Blue, you guys looked like you were brothers in arms. You guys were like, you're having fun. There was a camaraderie to the band that was different than a lot of bands, and so was that intentional or was that sincere?
No, that was real. I was, like I said earlier, that was some of the naivete that we probably brought down to Los Angeles, which made us stand out and be different. We weren't like the tough guy. We're from Portland, Oregon,
right?
for God's sake.
Look at these nice guys coming down.
That was the thing. And we I think that some of us kind of thought that was a bad thing. Well, we're not fitting in. Look at, there's a band over there called Wasp. How are we fitting in there?
This is Patrick Young saying this. I know it. I can tell.
Yeah.
Pat, if you're watching, that was you that said this.
Yeah. So we wanted to be, so yeah, it was real. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And it has remained that. I could certainly say that truthfully, for the records too. I mean, we went straight that first album. We were able to go to Japan and do our own tour. I think that first album went gold or went very close to that. So we were able to go out and go to Japan, headline a tour there. That album was really big. That was a big album. It was out of the gate. And the second one that followed it was completely different.
It was.
Why was that? Because it was not contrived.
Yeah.
Let's try and write like that.
Right.
The guys simply wrote what was coming out.
Without Love, man. Incredible. That's
great album.
My favorite album, actually.
My favorite album too.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Start to finish, like every song is.
Yeah.
It's hooky, but it's heavy.
Yeah.
Represented everything I loved about the era.
Absolutely.
How did there was a Kiss connection that happened?
Yeah.
How did that come about?
How did that come about? Well, we did the first album. I do want to say that when it came back from Germany, when I flew back to Portland because I hadn't been in Portland for a long time. I'd been in Los Angeles, we'd done all this stuff, then went to Germany and recorded. So I flew back to Portland. I knew I could be there for a month if I wanted. The guys were, the drum tracks were done. They were now moving on to whatever else. I think I went and saw Annette that one of the first nights I was there, and she was working at some place downtown. I don't remember where it was, but it was downtown Portland. And so just saying, it was those kind of connections that I had just constantly with her. Like I said, I hadn't been in Portland probably for half a year. Okay. She had, during that time, she was writing me letters in Germany. That's how we were talking to each other. You had to write letters then.
Of course, yeah.
There's no internet. There was none of this.
Right.
So
who would have thought back then, right? That would be
unbelievable.
Here,
yeah,
right? Just,
unreal.
Right.
How did the Kiss thing come about? Gene, we did that record. We did Without Love. Gene heard it. He liked it.
Because you were still with Geffen at that point, right?
We were still with Geffen.
And did somebody get it to Gene, or how did that connection happen?
That I'm not exactly sure of. I think Kiss was going out on a tour.
Okay. They
were getting ready to go out and do an Animalize tour.
Yeah, baby.
And we were up for the first John Cogner. This band's going to be, the next Jeff Leb, the whole selling point. And they were going out, and Gene really liked the band.
Okay.
They were looking for bands to take out, and he really liked the band. He liked the music. So, I mean, can you imagine? I'm me growing up this massive Kiss fan, and
right. Oh, and Jamie too.
Yeah. Those guys were more blown away than I was, for sure.
He was a Kiss tribute, right?
Earlier? Yeah. Well, later on, I think he was.
Okay.
But so here we are going out with Kiss, and on
the Animalize tour.
On the Animalize tour, that was with Eric Carr and with Bruce Kulick playing.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay, so let me just say, As a new drummer in high school, Eric Carr was my favorite drummer. I worshipped him. Most of my dreams were that Paul and Gene had come on stage. Eric's kit is sitting up there, but he's nowhere to be found. And so Paul said, "Hey, do you have any drummers out in the audience?" And I like yes,
of course.
And I'd have to get up on Eric's kit, and he was such a short guy.
Yeah.
I remember like everything on the drums sliding off the riser. I'd wake up in this nightmare, right? Because everything
yeah, right.
apart. But his personality, everything that I've ever read and everything, I never got to meet him. But he seems like, from what I've heard, the same kind of thing that I talked about with you, so connected to people just in their heart and, just so unassuming and sincere and, real.
Learned a lot from him. I certainly did. Not so much of the drumming thing, but just, I respected him so much because of who he was. We became really good friends. So much so that after that tour ended in December or went on, hold or whatever. I think the last place we played was the Omni in Atlanta.
Nice.
NAMM show. He calls me up. NAMM show in January here in Los Angeles. He calls me up and says, "Hey, you want to go to the NAMM show together?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely, man." He goes, "Okay, I'll come by and pick you up." So he comes by my apartment. I'm not quite ready I'm not done doing the hair yet.
Right.
And he pulls up. Yeah, exactly. He pulls up in the Corvette and the whole thing, which could be, you could go, this is really pretentious. But that all got wiped away when he comes in, into my place. And I said, "I'm not quite ready, man." He goes, "Okay." And he just sat down on my couch, just watching TV. There's Eric Carr sitting in my place, just hanging out, waiting for me.
Yeah.
We rode, drove his Corvette to the NAMM show and got all this special treatment. I have a picture from, I have several pictures from that tour that I posted with me and him before, but I also have one from NAMM, and there's it's a group of guys standing together. In that group is myself, Eric Carr, Danny Gottlieb, Bill Zelgen,
wow,
AJ Perot.
Oh man.
And I can't remember who else, but they're all Zelgen guys.
Oh yeah.
I was a Zelgen guy as well. And I've still got that photo somewhere. So I got a big blown up thing. Yeah, I still have that.
If you got a shot, if you can snap a picture, man, send it over. I'll put it and I archive this on the web. I'd love to have that picture because it's fun to look back at some of these photos. I'll hit Marty McRae up too, see if I can find the shot of you guys and Steve.
Yeah. I think we have one. No, we were so blown away that none of us thought to take a picture. We're kids, we're doing whatever. And it wasn't like you had the phone just went, you had to pull the thing out, and I don't know what to do.
Right. Make them.
So that was, but Eric was that kind of guy. He really was that kind of guy. And I had a great relationship with the cat. I mean, he was a sweetheart.
That's so good to hear, man. I love it.
It was true.
All right. So Gene got a hold of you, took you guys on a tour. And I think from what I remember, that was really the point where he was trying to develop bands too. Right. I mean, I know like Easy O he signed, and there were a couple of other bands that he was trying to work with. And so that was, and he was wanting to be an actor. Right.
He was doing all of that.
Right.
That tour was really mind blowing because, we would go out and watch Kiss sound check at Cobo Hall.
Yeah.
We'd go out and the place is empty and they're sound checking with our gear up in front. They're checking around our gear, which was pretty cool for Kiss to do. But not only that, they would play our songs. Like they would play Rockin' on Heaven's Door, what they knew of it. Yeah,
really?
We were watching Kiss play stuff off the record we had done.
That's cool.
Now, they would play excerpts from it and stuff, but that was unreal. And during that tour, we got to play all the venues that don't exist anymore. The Spectrum in Philly, Joe Louis Arena, just all these big halls. And we got to meet, all the people that were coming to those shows, everybody from, Ted Nugent, Eddie Van Halen, to who was ever huge on television at that time. You know,
Right.
it was a Miami Vice world,
Right.
and those people were showing up at Gene the actor's shows that happened to be on the East Coast. So, excuse me, it was just so fast paced. It was such you just had to hold on and go.
Yeah. You know, were you
Gene
partying hard at that point?
Oh, it was ridiculous.
It's amazing.
I've
honestly.
never partied so hard in my life.
It's crazy to think about partying that hard and still being able to pack the schedule that you guys did, right? And, you know, just it really. I mean, you look back now and it's exhausting thinking about it. I'm sure.
Oh, I remember. I think that we did 2 nights sold out at Madison Square Garden.
God, who can say that? That's so awesome.
It was just unreal. I mean, and I remember this is what the partying would do to you. So we're walking to the stage in Madison Square Garden, you know, where we've all seen Zeppelin, that footage, and you know, whatever your dreams or your memories, or however you conceive Madison Square Garden in your mind. And the lights go dead. Boom. This massive roar comes up from a crowd of 20,000 people. The flashlights are showing me how to get up the stairs. We're getting on stage. I'm sitting down behind the drum kit. It's dark. It's deafening. And I'm thinking to myself, boy, I wish I could be back in that hotel room sleeping, because I am hurting.
Oh, God.
And I am playing Madison Square Garden. So that's one thing that, you know, that's one thing I remember. I think, oh, that's a crazy memory. And we were there 2 nights, so I kind of got to redeem myself the next night, or if it was the next night at that time, I know that one of the nights was a great, you know, I was able to experience it.
Okay. Yeah.
After the show, I walked back to my hotel in December from Madison Square Garden, walking through Manhattan, smelling all the pizza cooking and the cars and the Christmas decorations and the whole vibe, and I'm just soaking it in, you know. Yeah. Certainly had to do that. I do remember a lot of people saying, as a Kiss crew, maybe some guys, you know, well, you know, you're opening for Kiss in New York City. They don't like that. They're here to see, well, if you get some stuff thrown. None of that ever happened.
Of
they
course
went
not.
nuts. They loved it. It sold out both nights. You know, it was fantastic. It was unreal. But we partied so hard that tour. It was just, I don't know how we came out the other side of that.
Yeah, man. Well,
frankly,
some people don't. Right after that, I mean, just you and I've had those conversations too. You know, like I think about, you know, like what it means, right? I mean, you think about the importance of being a rock star and kind of living that life, and how when I was 17, I had been such a rock guy, but my dad took me to see Chick Corea. Dave Weckl was playing, right?
Of course.
And ran backstage and introduced myself, right? And I'm this long-haired, permed, you know, mullet guy. Yeah. And I said, man, you did stuff that I never even imagined before. And he actually brought me back to his hotel. We hung out in his lounge while my dad sat tables over waiting, because I don't think I was driving yet. My dad took me, you know, so we sat for a couple of hours, and he was saying, like, do you party? I said, no, man, I'm a super straight-laced kid. You know, I was dry. My dad was dry drunk. All the guys I knew that I was playing music with were just kind of a wastoid dude. And so he said, good, you know, because if you party like I did, there's no way you're still going to be doing this. Like in your 30s, there's just no way you can maintain that lifestyle. And I remember feeling like, wow, this guy that just inspired me musically, and then has taken the time to sit down and talk to me about the business and about responsible living. I took it to heart for a long time. Had my phase of stupid stuff, you know, but
sure,
but you know, I think we should all be so lucky, right, to have those cats that have a little bit more experience and wisdom to sit you down and say, hey, you know, kid, just, you know, without being on a soapbox, it's really nice to have somebody that's paved the way. And
it really is. You know, in the 70s, growing up listening to music, I wanted to listen to things that nobody else, I didn't want to be mainstream.
Yeah.
I really didn't listen to radio. I didn't go for anything that was on the radio, for anything that was really happening. I was listening to stuff like Return to Forever, and I was really into prog. I was really into this. The weirder, the better, you know. So growing up with Moody Blues and Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and a bunch of bands that nobody's ever heard of, you know. And I kind of watched those guys, and I was like, well, these guys aren't that guy. Yeah, Chick Corea, you know, Return to Forever, all those records with Lenny White playing on them, you know, Romantic Warrior and you know, No Mystery and all that stuff. And I'm going, these guys don't look like rock stars, you know, but that didn't matter to me. That the look thing was and has never been important to me.
Right.
It may be a necessary evil, but it's never been important to me.
Yeah.
And so I got that from them. I was like, well, these guys can't party. You can't play like that and party like that. Plus, who knew that when you were in high school anyway?
Right.
You know, but of course, then later you get older, you know, you're kind of on your, you know, you get to do what you want. You start playing rock. I really didn't get into the real hard rock thing really until Black and Blue. I was playing other stuff at that time.
Yeah.
And it took a lot of discipline for me to go play AC/DC music.
Yeah.
Because that wasn't my deal.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. God, man, you have such a wide span of music. I mean, really, you know, you think about your first foray into international success with music with Black and Blue, but anybody that's sort of in that circle of rock, especially iconic album rock, everybody knows your name. I remember seeing you out with Michael Schenker group, you know, and you know, certainly, you know, I mean, the stuff that transitioned into Ratt and these other calls happened because you've developed a reputation, and we're gonna touch on that. I'm having a feeling that we may have to do a part 2 to get some of this if you're good with it. Because I think, man, I mean, there's a lot that people don't know about with Pete, and you know, I love it. You know, it's cool.
You know, I mean, how Schenker transitioned into Uli Roth, who transitioned into you know, a lot of other Guitar Hero guys that I've done tracks. Like I say, you know, Ian Gillan was back in the 90s. I think before that, John Clodner had A&R when we were doing Black and Blue. I don't even, it was during that time, but he came to me and he said, hey, Geffen is going to try and put a bunch of bands together. We're going to try and find different members from more. We're going to record them. We're going to try and build bands. We need a drummer. You want to be the Geffen in-house drummer?
Oh, wow.
Really? Geffen in-house drummer? I mean, that sounds really responsible.
Yeah.
I go, what? It seems like that's how he put it to me. That sounds to me like I've got to play with everybody. But he said, no. We're going to do all these projects. We need a drummer. We need that'll be do you want to do this? We'll pay you. We will. I was like, yeah, absolutely. I didn't even have to think about it.
Yeah.
I went in and got to work with so many different artists that went on to do other things that collectively couldn't work together.
Wow.
And these things were in big studios, recording on analogs. I mean, there was no home studios. Geffen was fitting the bill for all of this. They had money to burn like everybody did.
Yeah. Right.
So this guy, you know, 1985, 86, he's paying me $700 a session.
Oh, that's so sweet. And
you know,
you're just doing session after session, just doing
session after session with different artists.
Yeah, who
I'd have to think about who they were. But
I was just gonna say, I mean, any like off the top of your head that just like, because they were
Andy Meyer from Asia, the lead singer from Fastway, who is now in Flogging Molly.
Okay.
Guys from Crocus, all kinds of stuff. God, I don't remember. I just don't remember.
When you're doing a gig like that and you're in these big studios, I love the behind the scenes stuff, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
So are you like? It's not like they're sitting down and saying, "Hey, Pete, here's some charts, I want you to lay these songs out. How is it coming to be that you record with these guys? Are you doing some live rehearsals or?
We're doing rehearsals. That really commanded us getting together.
Okay.
And all, for an entire day, maybe not playing for that whole day, but getting to know each other, hanging, drinking, becoming a band. That's what Geffen was trying to do. They were trying to build these bands. They were trying to get something that was going to hit.
Okay.
And they put a bunch of money into it. And if it didn't go, next, bring the next guys in. Yeah. Okay, Pete, next week, you're going to be, and it would be like 2 or 3 songs. And they were rock songs. Mostly it was a rock and roll thing. We had the luxury of, hey, you were going to go in the studio at 12 and we're going to record these 3 songs. So, I was able to be there all day and work. If my part just completely sucked, well, then we'll start over and we'll try and get it again. It was all analog too,
right. Yeah. Can't just punch in Pro Tools and fix, but you talk about the hang. I mean, that's something that, like, it's almost like trying to form relationships with somebody, you can't have, just like stick a couple people together and assume that a dating relationship is going to work out over and over and over again. So there must be something that they felt like with you that you could be sort of negotiable and malleable and I guess, I think about the qualities you have to be able to sit down with new guys each session and make it feel like it's supposed to be there, right? That's
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was a bunch of things. I was non-confrontational.
Yeah.
I still am. I enjoyed the hang.
Yeah.
I was getting a paycheck, and I was playing music, and I was playing music with different people and different songs. And all of a sudden, if I stopped and thought about it for a minute, I went, wow.
Pinch me.
Remember when I said I wanted to be a musician? I'm a musician right now. What else can you call this? I'm getting paid by Geffen Records. I'm signed to Geffen Records, but I'm doing projects for the guys within the company, the president, the head A&R. Here I am. What am I? I'm 26 years old. I'm 27 years old.
Yeah, man. That's what.
And so I was loving it. It was, how could I not? I had a constant smile on my face, which I think endeared me to the guys I was working with. Yeah. I was in awe of them. Even if I hadn't heard of you, I was like, that guy's a rock star.
Yeah.
My perception of everybody, my perception of those guys in the 70s, my perception of Steve Smith, that guy, I didn't need to know your background. You just played the Paramount. You're a rock guy,
Yeah.
I think I use the term rock pretty broadly.
Yeah.
So, when I say that, it covers a wide array of music for me.
Right.
It's all rock to me. I don't know what else I play. Another important point to know what you play.
Right.
What do you play? What style of music? I mean, what are you doing out there on the drums? What are you doing? With all those influences and all those people, what that should do is mold you into yourself, the thing, not make you the person that goes, I can play a billion styles.
Right.
So you're great at all these styles, but you're not a master at any one of them.
Right. If you can identify your voice playing in all those different areas, you've evolved and sort of formed. I think about like Vinny, right? Like everybody knows it's Vinny Colaiuta playing no matter what style, right? He can play jazz, metal, funk, everything in between.
Of course. Yeah.
But you can always tell it's Vinny. Kenny Aronoff, right?
Sure.
Kenny. All the thousands of records, right, that Aronoff has played on, and you go, that's Kenny right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think
it's his voice. It's his voice. It's his. That's one of the things that can't be learned.
Yeah.
Kenny's. Kenny's journey is really quite amazing, and I'll leave that at that so you could talk with him about that. But
That'd be fun.
he really did a complete 360 when he started his career. When he started playing with Mellencamp, that was not the path he was going down.
Really?
Not the path at all. And really, you know, after graduating Berkeley in Boston, you know, to go ahead and move on with this massive musical career that lie ahead of him.
Right.
He decided he wanted to play rock and roll.
Right. Yeah, that's jumping ship a little bit on what you're taught at the Berkeley camp. But I think you know, there's so much that I want to cover, Pete, and I don't want to even discredit some of those projects because I've seen you on a bunch of those things. I saw you with Uli. I saw you with Michael Schenker. I've seen you with Black and Blue. Haven't got to see you with Ratt yet because we're kind of like on a little, forced hiatus, right? So
I think so. I think didn't I do something with Millie too at?
That's right. Yeah, I saw you down. Yeah, with Millie from
NAMM.
Yep.
There was a little thing that he asked me to come in and play 3 songs, and on a song that was pretty big, I guess. I mean, what was that for? The rockstar movie.
Yep. Yeah. You killed it. It was awesome. Yeah, man. I completely spaced that. I'm glad
I didn't do that until right now.
No, you killed it though.
Yeah,
I actually think I still have video from that on this phone.
Yeah, I don't see that there was something that there was no rehearsals.
Yeah,
you know.
That's right. You just rolled in, and he flew in from someplace too, and you guys just went for it.
Yeah,
but, Had you even met before?
I think we had met before because Rev Jones, the bass player for Schenker at that time, was I think he was playing with Millie off and on in Steelheart.
That's right. I've seen him with Steelheart, and I know he's a pal of Patrick's as well.
Yeah.
Man, the Schenker stuff, I'll never forget goosebumps watching Armed and Ready.
Where was that at?
Dante's.
Oh yeah, what a funny place for him to play. We would play some of these smallest places. Not that Dante's is so small, but I would have always, when I would come to Portland, I want to be the big shot.
Yeah.
I want to play the bigger places,
I think I did see you at Roseland with him too, if I remember right.
Yeah, we did play there. But yeah, what a funny little place to play. And he's known for that. He's got I'll play anywhere. I'll play anywhere, anytime.
A lot. Yeah, and loud.
Yeah.
And Uli too, man, on the Uli gig, that you had which Jennifer Batten has always talked about, like Uli's gig being the loudest gig she'd ever done. And she thought the Jeff Beck gig was enough to really hurt her ears, but she said,
love it.
Uli Roth. Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. No ear protection, just, never saying to me, quiet down. I mean, you go back to the club days of Black and Blue in Portland, and that was just one of the nightmares. Those guys thought to themselves, they had to have thought amongst themselves, why did we get this guy in the band? This is so loud. I'm playing a stainless steel double bass octopus that has to be set up entirely, of course,
right,
to play Swingtown by Steve Miller, right? So, and the club owners were just like, they'd come to us every gig.
Turn it down.
The drummer's too loud. No, the drummer's too loud. The drummer's too loud. The drummer. Andy Gilbert started hating me. He was just like, he just did not. And the gig started slipping away. The only thing was that we knew that we weren't going to be there forever.
Right.
We knew we were going to make this move. So, and the guys hung with me. They could have very well probably said, well, let's get somebody else who's a little quieter. Right. There's a whole story behind why I play the way I do, which is I don't know if it's I don't know, it's just a style I've developed. It's been a curse and a blessing too.
Yeah. Has it cost you a gig ever?
Well, I don't think so. I don't think it's cost me a gig. I think that it has never cost me a gig because people love it.
Yeah.
Initially, once the stuff goes down on on tape and they hear it, or we play live. But that's part of it. That's part of it. There's a conviction that has to go into your playing.
Yeah.
That and your personality and so on. I went in about 2 years ago, did a thing with George Thorogood here in Los Angeles. I did one song with him.
Okay.
He started calling me Tubbs. Hey, Tubbs, how you? And then their management said, hey, started calling me, hey, you learned the George Thorogood set? And I said, why? And this was just before the whole Ratt thing, I think. And I knew why. He said, well, they said this drummer here is getting old. George just wants to know, can you learn that set?
Yeah.
I just thought to myself, yeah, I'm pretty good at playing a shuffle. I can play a lot of different shuffles, not the rock and roll shuffle that you guys got to get off of out there.
Yeah.
The real thing, the Texas shuffles.
Yeah.
And all those.
That left-hand ghost strokes.
Yeah. Man. The whole thing. And I said, well, that's pretty, so anyway, I mean, I thought, gosh, I'm going in to do this thing with Thorogood. What's this going to be like?
Right.
I'm just going to, okay, I know what it's going to be like. I'm going to be me. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to play. I know the song. I learned the song. We didn't have any time for that. It was just get in, hit the ground running. Be yourself. Be that guy. I mean, now he knows what he's getting. What if I went into a gig like that and somehow pulled it off being somebody else?
Right.
Wow, I never played that lick before. That's the weirdest, but he loves it. Well, shit, now I'm held to that.
Right. Yeah.
No. You got to go in and, you have to know what you're doing before you get there. It's another thing that you can't be taught going to school. This is another experience that I was offered a chance to record with George Thorogood, and I was ready for it.
Yeah, buddy.
Because of past experience.
Man, I was just thinking, I know that Tommy has done a bunch of the rock and roll fantasy camp stuff.
Yeah.
Have you done those as well?
I never have. No, I never have.
I mean, it just seems like this kind of information is so good for those people that have this dream to play not only with their heroes, but if anybody's really thinking about, music as a career, and, young kids, if you were like a guest speaker for, School of Rock symposiums or something.
Yeah.
This is stuff that you're not taught in, early formative times, man. And this is really, really key. I feel like I'm getting a little lesson right here, which is awesome. God, man, let's do this. I want you to just give me a little teaser into how Ratt came about. And I know a little bit of the past. And then what I want to do is, if you're cool with it, man, I'd love to have a part 2 scheduled so that we can.
Absolutely. I love it too. I'm super therapeutic for me, man.
God,
I got nothing else to do but talk right now.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad. I mean, are you doing any session stuff right now?
I play right now. I'm just practicing. I have a studio, the full drum set. And if I can't get there, it's a little ways away. So I have to really that's another thing. It takes discipline. I have to really be into going there, which I am. I'm always into going. Even if I go there and play shitty, it's not a day wasted. It's a beautiful day because I get to play drums. I get to play my drum set that is set up waiting for me. It's sitting there going, play me, dude. Otherwise, I'll be here waiting for that. If I'm not doing that, I'm sitting here playing the practice pad.
Nice. Yeah,
I work out on the pad every day. I play on the practice pad. Just rudiments. Technique on the pad, and trying to be really disciplined.
Yeah.
What I'm playing, not trying to play fast, just playing those I mean, when was the last? Sit down and play all those rudiments, the 6-stroke roll, and your paradiddle diddles, and play them good, play them evenly. I mean, you'll look up at the clock and go, shit, I've been doing this for 2 hours,
right? And
you're gonna feel like that's something I don't do all the time. I got to get more of that, and that will translate into your playing and so on. So I don't want to go down that road, the Ratt thing you want to do.
Well, that is important though, because now I'm like, okay, I got to get.
Yeah, well, I mean, I do that. I'm not doing any sessions. Okay. Last session I did when the Geico commercial that we did with Ratt.
Yeah.
That was not the original track. That was us.
Okay.
That was this band. We went in, and so the background music, when you hear the round and round, we went in and re-recorded that for legal purposes.
Okay.
Did it in Juan's studio. It was
Okay.
all analog. There's no digital. None of
Really?
that. It's all analog.
He's got 2-inch tape.
He's got 2-inch tape. He's got this massive. It's like a Neve or the SSL. It's got 2-inch tape. It's got the Akai machines as well as the full Pro Tools. But we prefer, if we're going to go really deep, we'll put drums to tape always, and then bounce it down, maybe transfer it. But we'll always do the drums analog. This thing for the commercial was all the whole band just analog. So next time you listen to that, it's not. Yeah, you won't know the difference, but it's not the original Round and Round track.
I'm going to post that as well when we wrap this up, and I archive this on YouTube and actually on my website. I'll make sure I get the Geico commercial in there. Well, I'll check it out after. It's so fun to see, man, because it was a blast. And on that, Round and Round has just entered the top 20 Billboard chart for the first time since 1984. Again,
we're in the top 20. We're at number 18 with that song. Although I didn't record the original, again, saying that I just did the song, that I just did a version of that song that has put it back there. Yeah. That's pretty satisfying. And to see, I think we're flanked by Queen and the Beatles.
Oh,
so this is for digital airplay, top 20 in Billboard of the most songs being requested.
My God. That's amazing, man.
Yeah, and what was the other thing? Oh, they just had over 8 million views and more than and over 10,000. 10,000. It's been played over 10,000 times on TV.
Okay.
And over 8 million views on the internet.
Man,
just got to ride up in Variety. I mean, I kind of was. I was like, really, for this little? We went in there and goofed off for a day.
Yeah. Well, that's how it should be, man.
Fantastic. Yeah, fantastic. What else are you gonna do that day?
Well, especially right now, right, man? You set yourself up so you could watch that commercial from home and in quarantine. But
how weird! I see it like 3-4 times a day.
I love it, man. I try not to watch TV actually because I can't watch the news, man. It's to me.
Yeah.
One of those things that anxiety raises, and this is
that's the difference between you and me. That's all I watch. I mean, I have people call me and tell me, "Go turn off the news, dude. Get off the news, dude."
I'm usually that guy, so I'll tell you the same thing. Well, the other day, I talked to a friend of mine here, my buddy Johnny Monaco. You probably know. Friend enough forever. And while we were talking, he was looking just off camera. He had a TV showing the riots and the protests, and he's usually so funny. And he was very subdued. And I said, hey, look the astronauts just got to the space shuttle like 2 hours ago, dude. Switch the channel and watch the space shuttle and figure out something. But I think so. If there's anything cool to see on TV, we got cool NASA stuff, and then you got we got Geico.
How lucky are we? That was to correspond with the big tour that we were going to do this year. We were going to play big places. We were going to play 8 to 10,000 seaters. It was our tour, the headliner. We had Slaughter, Skid Row, and it was either going to be Tom Kiefer or Cinderella. I don't know which one what he was bringing out, but that was all set. That commercial was going to coincide with that tour, which would have just been great. But I got to tell you, it's done more than what I thought it was ever going to do.
And you know what? It just builds anticipation because everybody wants that tour to happen. So when things open up, you guys will be out. And I would imagine, like us too, everybody in the band is kind of chomping at the bit to we know once we get out there to play again, it's going to be, the intensity is going to be that much more. I think the fanaticism from all of us is going to be, like obsessed to play again. But we don't have to speculate on when that's going to happen because I know that nobody knows,
Nobody knows. No.
We're supposed to come down to Catalina and play in a couple months. They said for sure this gig's happening. And I thought, we got to take the boat over there, right? Social distancing on that little boat is not going to be that easy, right? And so who knows if it happens, but I let's do this. When you and I get off the broadcast here, let's talk about when you're available to talk about part 2, because the formation of Ratt with you in it, this new version out there playing, is a really cool and long developing story. So I think we'll tease them with that. I know.
Yeah, absolutely.
You were in the family. long before you were in the family. And
I was, yes.
so I want to do two things right now. Number one,
Yeah.
I want to say, I raise a glass to the memory of Annette.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you,
absolutely.
sir.
Yeah, man. I'm grateful that I'm grateful to see how you're processing this and how, you really, you're keeping her memory and legacy alive. I'm proud of you for doing this in a healthy way. I'm honored that you would share these feelings with me. That means a lot to me, man.
Sure,
And
absolutely.
I think just the world of you, my friend. I really do, man. I can tell there's a lot of gratitude and humility, and that's what this is all about, So part two of this is just going to be fun to kind of go.
Yeah, of course. We got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we do, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do want to thank the 5-Star Guitars here in Beaverton for helping me out. They've put together some sponsorship and helping the show.
Oh, that's great.
Better gear. We got some Audix microphones, and
yes, I love it.
They're wonderful Portland-based organization, small business of the year, and I'm actually working with a group. Manic Merch that's putting together Abducted by the 80s Back to the Basement event on June 13th.
Oh, killer.
It's a fundraiser to help all the frontline workers that are working the COVID fight. And so live performances and archives from like Wing Chun and Flock of Seagulls, Cutting Crew, Naked Eyes, Animotion, Escape Club, New Shoes, The Vapors, Annabella from Bow Wow Wow, Clive Farrington from When in Rome, and Spoons. Downtown Julie Brown is one of the hosts, as is Richard Blade. I think Sirius XM Radio is on board to help promote that. That's June 13th. If you go to www.abductedbythe80s, you can find out more information. And this conversation with Pete and I will be on my kevinrankin.com site, where you'll see some fun photos from memories past, and some behind the scenes with Pete and Steve Smith, and then maybe if you got some old Eric Carr stuff, will you give me some of that?
Yeah, I will. I will try and dig that out. I know I have some on my phone, but the one I'm talking about with the NAM, I'll have to dig that out.
That's awesome, man. I think, man, anybody that hadn't already met you, I'm sure they can see that Pete Holmes is the real deal. There's a reason this guy's getting those phone calls, man, because he's more than Holmes hits harder. He is. I think he lives harder. So I'm grateful to call you friend, my buddy.
Yeah, thank you for having me on, Kevin. I mean, it's super therapeutic, and it's good to see you. It's good to talk to you. It's always too short every time I'm with you. So yes, please, let's continue. For sure.
Okay. All right, man. I'm going to call you right after we wrap this, and we'll find part two.
Yeah.
I love you, brother, man.
I love you too, man. Thank you so much.
You got it, amigo. Take care, buddy.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Peace.
Yep.